Well, my 1946 CJ2a Two Step had a broken case, T90 case, and I mean it was repairable, but I was going to pull it out and either repair or replace the case. And while I had it out, I decided to go ahead and do a T18 swap, 4-speed with the granny low. And so I contacted Aaron Holdaway, and I got one of his T18s that's adapted to a L134, and I swapped it out. Well, I put about 40 miles on Two Step today, testing the T18, and everything seems to be doing great. So I think it's good to go. So I'll show you what I've been up to. This T90 I have here in Two Step, it's got a broken hole for the bolt for the shift tower, and it's been kind of bugging me. It can't, a bolt just won't hold in there. It's loose, and it's broken off enough to where you can't fix it. You can't put a repair thread in there. It either has to be a piece welded on there and re-drilled or tapped, or put just take this out and rebuild the transmission with the new different case. But I think I'm going to try something a little bit different. I think I'm going to put a 4-speed in this Jeep. So this is a T18 that Aaron Holdaway adapted so that it would go with a Go Devil engine, which Two Step has a Go Devil engine. So I'm gonna do some modifications, and I'm gonna put this T18 in Two Step.
This is the crummy prototype. Some casting porosity in this one, so it's just a demo, but to give you an idea, then we got to drill the holes in it to make up T18s, do a little spot face operation, plug the old holes, and voila. So this is the side that the T18 bearing pocket's on. This is the side that the T90 throat bearing collar goes into. There's the check tool.
Okay, I've got my skid plates off, got my linkage off for the pedals for the brake and clutch, and I think I'm ready to pull this out of here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this Dana 18 off, and I'm gonna mount it to the T18. We'll see a little comparison here. We've got the existing T90 is 8 inches, and the T18 is about 13 inches. So we're gonna have to definitely do some modifications to make this all work. So I wanna kind of get a rough idea of how much I'm gonna have to cut for the of the transmission tunnel. So if I go from the existing bell housing, it's about 12 inches, maybe even a little more. Okay, so this is gonna go all the way back to there. This is definitely in the way. So I'm gonna have to move this bracket there. This little clip comes out of there, and then this little washer, and then you take a 1/2 inch drive and you stick it in there, and you unscrew that. This guy should come right out of there. Ah, there it is. Now we just have to take these bolts out, and that will separate the transmission from the transfer case. Okay, well, I've removed the cross member just so it's a little easier to take this off. And all the bolts are out, and the back gear is off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it apart and tap the bearing that's here. I'm going to tap that so that it goes with the transmission. Otherwise, it comes apart and you lose your needle bearings and all that stuff. So I want to try to keep that all together at this point. So I have a brass drift, and as I break that apart, I'm going to tap that bearing so that it goes with the transmission and doesn't stay in the transfer case. Okay, I got that apart, and the bearing and bearing retainer stayed with the transmission. I'll probably wire that back just so that it doesn't come apart. This is a large hole case, so it's got the bearing retainer for the large hole. This is a seal puller for the Dana 18 transmission. You screw this into the, it's got threads here. You screw this into the seal, and it grabs on with these threads. And then you screw this in, and then it pulls the seal out. I've already changed these with new seals, but you don't have to take everything apart. You could just use this tool. And then they have a larger version that I replaced the seals on the input and output shaft of the Dana 18 transmission. So that's a bigger seal puller, but you can replace your seals without having to pull everything apart. There. And then I have a adapter to adapt it to the Dana 18. this transmission mount, I couldn't find the exact right one, so I modified this one. I had to make these holes a little bit bigger so that the socket would fit in there. And then I had to slot the holes a little bit because the pattern was a little bit wider. Then I made this bracket that will bolt to that, and then this will bolt and then weld to the cross member. So that's my setup. And then I made this slotted. I made this slotted, so if I need to adjust it, I've got a little bit of play there. So that's basically how it's going to go in. Okay, I got that hanging there. I'm going to put a transmission jack under it and hopefully secure it. It's a pretty big transmission. Okay, we got her on the transmission stand. Okay, so with this bigger transmission, it pushed the cross member back, but it seems to be able to fit right underneath the frame where the stock one goes. So that means I'm not going to lose any clearance. So what I have to do now is I'm going to make a bracket similar to this one and put it on here. So I went down to the local metal shop and I found this, it's like 4" by 1/8" square tubing in their remnants box, and I just cut a channel out of one, and it's the perfect width for that bracket I need. Something like that. Okay, I got the new mount on. I moved it over from there to this position. Everything's bolted in. I still have to finish bolting this up. I got a bracket that I made to go in between there. And then the cross member will be done. So this is what I came up for with the cross member. I made a little platform and welded it to the cross member, and that fits where the transmission mount needs to sit. We'll let that dry and then put it all in. Well, the only two places that the transmission is hitting the tub or touching the tub is right here and right here. So, but I like the idea that I'm not losing any clearance at the bottom. So what my thought is, well, as you can see, there's absolutely nothing left of the body mount rubber spacer that is supposed to be between the frame and the tub. Every one of them is like that. Well, this tub was missing the body pads, so I made some, but they're a little bit thicker than the standard one. This is a standard one, and that's the one I ended up using. And the reason why I made it a little bit thicker is because I wanted to make it so the tub's not touching the new transmission. So anyway, I'm going to try those pads there. It doesn't make it, you know, a huge difference as far as the body height, but maybe just enough to clear the transmission. Well, I do have some daylight now through where the transmission was touching before it's clearing. So I think that's going to work. About a 1/4 of an inch space there, which is all I need. There's one little tip there or one little point right there that's touching, but I think I'll just get something blunt and kind of smash up the tub a little bit in that section just so it doesn't touch. So I didn't take a video of this, but the clutch lever pivot point here moved back because of the new transmission. So on this side, I moved this bracket back and re-drilled the holes. And then I had to, this was narrower between the two pivot points, so I had to cut this section out of the middle and then re-weld it for the new length. The stay cable, I had to put a coupling on and extend that. I made a new linkage for the clutch out of all thread because it needed to be longer. Well, after I got my transmission installed, I got my angles with the digital angle finder, and I measured the angle of the transfer case, and I measured the angle of the differential, and then I measured the angle of the drive line, and then along with the length of the drive line. And then I called up Tom Wood's custom drive lines and gave them all that information, and they recommended a double cardan drive line, and then some shims to put under the differential to angle it up towards the transfer case. So they didn't have the right shims that I needed. They were a little bit wider. So I found some online and I ordered the correct shims that I need. So I'm gonna be putting the shims in today. Okay, I've got this all braced up, the frame and the axle, and I've got my leaf springs loose here. So now I'm going to go ahead and mount the wedges onto the leaf springs, and then we'll put everything back together. Okay, I've got my leaf springs clamped. I'm going to take that center bolt out and then put the angle shim in. Well, I got my angle shims in place, and we just need to bolt the leaf spring back up to the axle.
Have to rotate some, so I wouldn't tighten it too tight.
I'm just gonna make it up towards that right now. We'll do the other side. Yeah, that looks like a much better angle. There. Fell in the hole.
Tightening up the U joints.
Okay, that's good.
Got to retorque those. When you hear it click, it's good. Oh yeah. Good. Yeah, 55 pounds.
Okay, we have our angle shims in, and that's making a much better angle for that differential.
Oh, you got to turn it on. This is the Olab Sog Pumpa filling up the transfer case. This came from Germany.
Okay.
When we were over there, the Germans donated it to the cause.
It was a birthday present.
It was a birthday present. The cool thing about it wasn't my birthday, and I got one too. But I left it here at the shop.
Okay. Now for the transmission.
It beats the pump by hand.
Yeah.
Whoa! I take that back.
God, I went to push this thing in, and the whole thing came apart.
Oh, what a mess.
I always make, no matter what, I always make a mess. He's here playing with his 1978 Ford F-250 four-wheel drive. He's had for, how many years have you had this thing?
40 now.
40 years. But it's the clutch is needing a little help, so he's putting a clutch in.
I'm only 47.
A little bit different on the lift with the big old truck like that.
Oh, that's just
We got the gas tank in, and it just fits. We had to make a new little section of tub there and weld that up. Probably not the perfect thing, but it'll work for a trail Jeep. Okay, that is second. Third. Fourth. That's second. That's third. Fourth. Reverse is over there. And that's low, Granny Lowe's right there.
That's like second gear.
Yeah, it sounded like it.
Yeah, and you know, I don't think I need overdrive with this. It feels like it's got plenty.
Well, it's 4-speed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is your overdrive.
Okay, here comes Dave in two-step with the 4-speed. Holy Toledo. Oh man, that is so long. got it in granny low four-wheel drive.
All right, here comes Two Step around the corner, making its debut with the new 4-speed transmission, granny low, lockers. We'll test it on the hump.
That's definitely granny low.
Yep.
That's a granny low for sure. You gotta try it yourself.
Okay, here's Two Step, and Ernie's coming up the backside. Cool.
Okay, we just got a few other things to wrap up. This originally mounted onto the floor for the leg of the driver's seat. So I'm gonna have to move it over here. So I added a square tubing here, welded it to the floor. So that'll give me a perch for this to land on. And then now I just have to make up a little piece that I can weld that in. Okay, I'm going to weld in a nut into that square tubing that I welded in there, and that'll go for the new leg position. Okay, we got that leg relocated.